Welcome to FreedomCast, a podcast dedicated to interviewing star icons and entrepreneurs who have encouraged others to become more healthy and active. My name is Ashton, and it's my pleasure to host you as we take another trip through the fitness industry. It's entertaining and informative, and I hope it makes fitness more exciting and special to you in your own fitness journey. FreedomCast is supported by Freedom Fitness Equipment in Charlotte, North Carolina. Freedom Fitness Equipment serves the health and fitness community nationwide, from free weights and strength equipment for home gyms and studios to cardio and conditioning equipment for commercial spaces. Check them out at freedomfitnessequipment.com. Let's get rolling with today's show. I love when people have a practical, no nonsense, no bullshit approach to fitness. And you kind of fit that mold exactly. So I wanted to have you on, not only to get more exposure for you, but also to just talk about fitness generally, because I thought you had some really good sound advice for guys and gals in that space, and just wanted to hear more. So welcome.
Yeah.
For those of the audience who don't know who you are, can you explain a little bit about your background and how you even got to this point?
Yeah, so I graduated with my 4-year degree in exercise science in May of 2020. So kind of throughout that degree, I was also building up a training career. So I've been training for about almost 5 years now, I want to say.
Nice.
I started when I was about 20 years old. And so kind of as I got more into the industry, I saw how much bullshit was being pushed to people and how confusing everything was for anybody that's a beginner and people that just don't have the educational background and can't tell the difference between it. And just from working with clients, hearing all of the nonsense that they were told by previous trainers and by the internet, I really wanted just to get out there and try to kind of ease some of that confusion and just kind of make things more simple. Because even though working out and seeing results does take work, it shouldn't be complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's some of the biggest lies that you've heard, either from influencers or just in health and fitness?
Well, a big one is that carbs are bad, which we know is not. They are what fuel your muscles. I'm not against keto, but I don't think that it's right for everybody. It was designed for people that have cancer and diabetes and Alzheimer's, not for the general public. Right now on TikTok, there's a trend saying that 4x12 reps will kill your gains, which is inherently false. What else? The whole muscle confusion thing. I'm like, your muscles are not conscious beings. You don't confuse them. They respond to stimulus, which is strength training and all that. And I mean, the whole thing with lifting weights will make you bulky for women. If you want to be bulky, that can certainly happen. But I've been lifting for 5 years pretty heavy. I don't think I'm too bulky, but if that was my goal, I could have done it.
Yeah, I mean, people look. I don't understand how somebody looks at somebody like yourself and goes "Oh yeah, no, they definitely look like a man because they've been lifting weights." Who in the right mind? Where does that? So there's more and more of people like yourself that are actually, which I think is amazing. Getting out there and saying resistance training and lifting heavy is good. Do you see? Are the tides shifting towards women being more comfortable with that, or do you still see massive aversion to anything related to barbells?
I think it's getting a lot better. So I remember when I first started lifting, I was 19 and I would be the only female in the weight section. Wow. So I would go at 10 p.m. at night and scroll through bodybuilding.com forums because social media and stuff wasn't a thing. I wish I had the workouts that I used to do from bodybuilding.com because that was the only place I knew how to find information. And the more time I spent in the gym, the more I would see more women coming to the weight section. They would slowly move from the cardios into the weights and from circuit training, high rep stuff into barbell movements. And for me, working with a lot of women, they kind of look at me, they're like, oh, well, I want to look like you. I'm like, well, we're going to lift some heavy ass weights because you are not going to get bulky and you are going to love the journey that you're going to be on. So I think over time, it's getting a lot better. I don't have any men telling me to not lift heavy and be bulky as I did when I first started back 5 years ago.
That's nice.
Yeah. So it's slowly transitioning. I do think that's one thing that social media has helped with is just normalizing women in the weight section and empowering women and showing them that you can lift heavy, train hard, and still have an amazing physique and not have to worry about looking too, quote, bulky or manly.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a cardio component to all of it just to keep your heart health and all that, but it's not as significant as I think people want it to be, particularly for females. Is there I know for guys it's different, but is there an ideal physique that you're going for when you're training women? Either get like one interview I did, it was getting a better back and butt and that kind of thing. But is there something you're usually training for? Or does it depend on the person?
Everybody's so different. Like I have women that have smaller frames. They come in and they're like, I want a fat ass. I'm like, all right, let's do this. I got you. I have other women that come in and they're like, I've always had wide hips. I'm like, and I want to feel more proportionate. I'm like, well, we can definitely do that. Like, let's work with your strengths. Some people just want to be healthy. They kind of come in with general goals. And as they start to work and get stronger, they develop more kind of physique based, strength based goals, or they're like, oh, like I want like these round shoulder things. Then but everybody is so unique and so different. I have women that are 5'5", 100 pounds and want to gain weight. I have women that are 210 pounds and want to be lean and jacked and look like a figure competitor.
Nice, nice. Have you gotten to train anybody who is actually going to compete, is going to compete either with powerlifting, bodybuilding, or anything like that?
I have not. I have people that have general strength goals, but since I haven't competed in bodybuilding or powerlifting myself, I would almost feel underqualified because I haven't gone through that process myself.
Gotcha. For somebody who's just getting into this, particularly a woman who's just getting into strength and lifting heavy, what are your guidelines, top level, that you're going to give them?
Usually when I have my females that come in that have not lifted weights before, I put them on a 3-day full body workout split. So they're hitting each muscle group 3 times a week. They're not doing too much volume, so they have time to recover in between. And it kind of gives them a variety of basic movement patterns to focus on and get stronger at. So I just kind of start off like very simple and easy with the basics. I want them to feel confident going into the gym on their own and doing these movement patterns on their own. And then as they start to get stronger, as they start to develop more goals and they can make it there more than 3 times a week, then we start to kind of adjust as things go on. But really just getting stronger at the basics, having that simple, easy to understand program that just makes complete sense, and having that for the first usually 2 months or so. And then as their confidence increases, we start getting a little more complex, maybe adding some drop sets, some more kind of lower body type of supersets, like a push pull. But is making it really easy to understand initially and having that confidence to go in and do it on your own.
Sure. What kind of things do overcomplicate programs? Is it more on the nutrition side, people overthinking it, or is it really kind of a combination of both, or in between, like people just over programming or not programming correctly?
I see so many awful kinds of programming, or they'll show me programs that their old trainer gave them, and I call them cliffhanger trainers because you don't know what to do without them. Like they're like, stay tuned for next week and come in and see what's going on, and they don't know what to do. So it's like, if you look at a program and there's 20 different movements on there, you have AMRAPs, you have jumping this, you have like 5 exercises in a set, and then you're doing that 5 times through and cycling through. It's so overwhelming. Like if I were to get a program like that and I've been doing this for 5 years, I would not want to go in the gym and do that. It's way over programming. It's not focusing on the basics. It's not helping them to build their confidence with the movement patterns to build off of in the future. And it's just like with burpees and plyos, like everybody hates burpees and so many people program burpees. But it's, yeah, like they don't cater it towards the clients. It's just more kind of a generalized thing. The thing with nutrition too, like carbs are bad, that's going to make you fat, protein's bad for your kidneys. And like, are we supposed to like eat air? Like, I don't know. And so when people come in and they have all these misconceptions of like, should I be fasting? Should I do this? Like, I hear that I can't eat carbs after 6. And I'm like, I'm just going to calculate your BMR. We're going to take away 500 from that. Here are your macros. Let's learn about what's in your food. So that way, you know how to make better choices. Let's have a refeed day during the week so you can enjoy the food that you really like and not feel stressed out about it.
Do you find most of your clients are looking for some sort of weight loss program, or are they usually are they wanting to maintain or even gain?
I have all 3. So most of them it kind of starts off with weight loss. It's or they're like, oh, like I want this area to be smaller or this to be firmer. So it kind of starts off as weight loss, but a lot of them don't really need to lose weight. They're looking for more of a recomp.
Okay.
So once they get stronger and they start seeing, oh, like my butt's firmer, I have a line on my thigh that I didn't have for from my muscle, then they really get away from those weight loss goals. They're like, I don't care what the scale says. Like, I love the results I'm getting. Let's keep getting stronger. But there are some actual weight loss clients. And those two, like after they lose about 20 pounds or so and they see the changes, they really don't care what the scale says anymore because they feel better, they look better, they have this awesome new lifestyle that they're so excited to finally have achieved and made normal for them.
That's phenomenal. If there was one piece of advice that you'd have for women in weightlifting, what would it be?
You just have to start. It's not as scary as it seems. And if you find a good coach to kind of help get you through that initial hump of getting into the gym and knowing what to do and what the metal things on the floor are, and like, you just have to go in there and start. It gets easier every single time you go in there.
Gotcha. When you're going through these body recomp and weight loss and even power building programs, I mean, I'm sure the topic of toning comes up quite a bit. I'd love to know your stance on toning.
Oh, I hear that all the time when they say, oh, I just want to tone. I'm like, well, you can't tone a muscle if it isn't there.
Yep.
What's a toned muscle? Like, you have to build muscle. If you want to look toned, you need to have muscle. And if there's hardly any muscle there, you can't tone anything. Like, we can't tone fat. So over time, that language is kind of kicked out of their vocabulary because I don't use it myself. Good. But any single one's like, oh, I just want to be toned. I'm like, so you want more muscle, but toned muscle. I'm like, I can't control how your muscles grow. They're going to grow. And then you're going to have it there. And then you're going to lose fats. And then you're going to look better and have more of a shapely physique.
Yeah. Do you train out of a gym? Do you have your own studio right now?
I'm kind of all over the place. So there are 2 facilities that we train out of. I do contract work and have my own business. And then we do in-home training as well. So especially with COVID, that kind of took off. People that have full on in-home gyms, beautiful, like, kind of facilities. And then we have people that have like 5 dumbbells and a band. So it's like really kind of learning how to work with what they have in their home. But usually they're just general fitness. They just want to enjoy working out. They want to feel better. They want to look better. So I'm kind of all over the place as far as that goes. Gotcha.
Do you have a name for your business?
So for me, I just go under like Cassandra Dill training. I think my TikTok is just Cassandra Dill. And then I do contract work for a local company as well called Resolute Fitness. So I'm 1099 with them. So I kind of do about half and half.
Gotcha. Is there a client that you find you have just a lot of fun training, or a certain type of client that you really enjoy training that comes to you on a regular basis, or even comes to you every so often?
Any sort of women, I don't care what age they are, that just want to lift weights and get stronger, because you can kind of toss anything at them. They don't complain. They love seeing progress. If I say, all right, we're tossing on 10 more pounds, you're getting stronger, they get excited about it. The same thing with men. Like, I have guys who run marathons, and just men that enjoy strength training too. So really any person that loves the process as much as I do, because I can throw anything at them and they love it. Like, I'll get texts from them of like I have a calf. Like, I didn't realize it until I was reaching up to get this thing out of my cupboard, and my girlfriend looked over and said, when did you get calves? He's like, I don't know, but that's really cool. Wow. Or little things of like, my jeans are fitting tighter because my butt fills them out. Like, yes, we did it.
That's amazing. Talk to me about the fitness industry in general. Are there certain, I'm just going to stir the pot a little bit and you can respond however you'd like, but like, are there certain fitness influencers just spewing total garbage, or just talk to me about the fitness industry in general and your thoughts on that landscape?
One of my biggest ones is women that have had any sort of plastic surgery, augmentation, and sell a program as if they built it themselves. Like, I am not against plastic surgery whatsoever. I've had an augmentation myself, but I tell all my clients about that and I disclose that. But women that have had like BBL and they're like, look at these results I got in a year. You're lying to your followers. You're giving them false hope, and you're selling this horrible program, telling them that it's going to get them progress just by doing booty band workouts and jump squats at home, which is false. But we have the people that have lost like 20 or 30 pounds doing this crazy fasting thing or keto, and they're spewing this like starvation method, or carbs are going to kill you, so you shouldn't eat them, and they're what's making you fat, or eat 1,000 calories a day and you're going to lose weight. Like, yeah, but you're going to mess everything up in the process. So there's a lot of that going on. Even for men, there's men that claim to be natural, but you don't know what kind of substances they're on. And it kind of goes the same way. Like, you can't really disclose if you're taking anabolic steroids or SARMs because they're still illegal. But same thing goes for men. They're like, buy my shoulder program to look like this, and they're not being transparent about what they're actually putting in their body.
Yeah. What would you estimate is the, okay, so I'm going to ask you two questions. One's on the female side, one's on the guy's side. Mm-hmm. What do you estimate is the percentage of women on Instagram that have had some sort of plastic surgery or injection of some type?
Yeah. So I feel like depends on the big names in the industry you're in. Mm-hmm. Like, if you follow a lot of bodybuilders, like, they will have breast augmentations, but you can tell that, and they couldn't get on stage and be successful if they had any sort of like injections or lifts, because you could tell when you get that lean.
Okay.
But there are the other ones that are mainly just known for their butts and their physique. I would maybe guess like 50%. And once you know what to look for, you can tell, because things don't move properly, or there aren't videos of them from certain angles. There's only photos, and you don't see them walking really from behind, because then you could really tell that what they have is not all theirs.
Is it, so I didn't know about this until I got into the fitness business, but is it true that you can inject basically the equivalent of plastic cement into your rear end to like cause it to be firm? What is that a thing?
I haven't heard of that. Is that a new thing that's going on now?
It might be, yeah.
Because I know like fat transfers, where you take fat out of your thigh and put it into your butt, but with that, you also can't you can't dictate where the fat goes. It just goes there, and it goes where it wants to go. So those are pretty obvious, because everything is very displaced and it doesn't look how it's supposed to look. Yeah. But I have not heard of that, but I would not be surprised if it exists.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I figure it's just like a breast implant where it's just like tacked on, and I don't know. I feel like over time that would cause severe problems, like your body's rejecting something, but I have no idea. Yeah. For guys, I'll ask the same question. I mean, I, in my opinion, 90% of the guys that I see on Instagram who are bodybuilders or powerlifters or are on something, whether it's SARMs test, HGH, like replacement therapy, hormone replacement therapy. I don't even care. Like, I don't know. Do you think it's higher in the male dominated space than it is for women in terms of like what they're taking, or do you think it's kind of split?
I think it will be about the same. With that, you would have to look at the kind of federations that they compete in. So like, are they competing in the NPC and the IFBB, which is not drug tested? Then yes, they're going to be on something to compete with anybody else in there. But if they're in a heavily drug tested type of federation, then the chances are going to be a lot lower. The same thing with powerlifting. I know that with, I forget the acronym for it, but the USAPL, they are very, very strict on their drug testing, the lie detectors, their urine testing. So anybody that competes in that, there's a very, very low chance that they're going to be on something. But as far as the strong men go, as we know, they're walking like pharmaceutical companies. Like they're taking a lot of stuff to be that large and that strong.
Yeah. It's impressive. I mean, I will say, and
it's impressive.
Yeah. I wish it was less taboo, just if only for the fact that people could identify the health risks along with the benefits at the same time. But I don't know what your opinion is on that.
It's not healthy. And anybody who says it is a lie. A lot of the people that have money and a bigger following, they can see a primary care doctor on a regular basis, get their blood work looked at, and make sure that things are looking like they're in the normal range. But the long-term effects of it, they still don't know how it's going to affect them. And so it's kind of a matter of like, do you want to sacrifice your health for these short-term benefits, or do you want to do things the safer way? Like, I'm not against that kind of stuff. I just feel like people need to be transparent. There's a safe way to go about it. But even then, people get sucked into it, and it's like, I want you to be bigger and stronger. And that's where the negative, both mental and physical effects kind of come in.
Sure. Have you ever been tempted to take steroids or anything like that to increase your gains?
Oh gosh, no. I thought it offered to me. I've had
Oh,
friends
wow.
that have type 1, like I've had people ask me if I want insulin after my workout. I'm like, no, I hate needles. And why would I want to inject insulin? Like, I don't want that. I've had people offer me like fat cutting steroids, but it just doesn't appeal to me. I feel like I drink enough caffeine. I don't need anxiety or to be like sweaty and shaky throughout the day. I'll just watch my diet a little bit for a month and see the same results.
Yeah, some of that green tea stuff is, oh, and the cocktails that they mix together, like it's like combining Bang Energy with green tea and a bunch of different supplements. That stuff has not got to be good for your long-term health, and it's like all over the place.
No, like of course with supplement industry, nothing is regulated by the FDA. So people can put like grass in a pill and say it's green tea extract fat burner, and until they get caught for it, it can sell off the shelves. And like it's just gonna make you a little bit hotter, a little bit more antsy, but you're not gonna shed fat. You might burn some more calories at rest, but do you have underlying heart conditions? That's probably not a good thing to be putting in your body.
Yeah. Are there any supplements that you
Mhm.
would recommend? I know EAAs and creatine are considered just at least right now to be
Mhm.
somewhat beneficial. But I know probably starting out, it's not, you don't really you may not recommend anything, but what do you, as
Mhm.
somebody's going along in their training progression?
Yeah, so what I take personally, so I use protein powder and a pre-workout, and that's about it.
Okay.
For most of my clients, I do recommend a protein powder if they struggle to get their protein in without it, which like if like that's an extra like 20 to 30 grams that can really help them to get their protein intake to where it needs to be. Creatine, it's safe, it's well researched. So I usually kind of help people like creatine load with that, so that way they don't take too much or too little.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the AAs over the BCAAs for sure, especially if I have clients that are more plant-based or vegan.
Mhm.
I definitely suggest those just to make sure that they're getting all their essential amino acids in. But and then as far as pre-workout, I like it. It's a fruity thing to drink before I go into the gym. I know that caffeine's a well-researched ergogenic aid as well. And so that can definitely help with the performance, but kind of like that bell curve. If you take too much, it negatively impacts it because you're just antsy and shaky and sweaty and you can't work out properly.
Sure. Yeah, the supplement industry is interesting. There's so many, it's so saturated. It's hard to
Mm-hmm.
determine what companies are actually doing good things as opposed to just trying to sell you a load of crap. I mean, BCAs are still
Yeah.
around, even though they've been now researched and debunked as
Mm-hmm.
basically useless.
Yeah. That's what I've been telling people for like 3 years, and everyone thought I was crazy. I'm like, look at the research now.
Wow.
Hmm.
So how do you keep up on things like that? Like how do people, if they were in your shoes, how would they keep up on, science and nutrition and the health aspects of things? Because it sounds like
Hmm.
you're continuously researching better methods to train
Hmm.
and get better things in your body. So how do you do that?
So I find people that are doing research in the field currently, and I follow either their podcasts or social media accounts like Lane Norton, Eric Helms with 3DMJ. I like Jeff Nippert's a lot as well because he
Yeah.
makes really easy to digest information that anybody can understand, which I love.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like finding their podcast, looking at people that they work with as well. And so that way, when you're on your social media, you see a post about, oh, like here's something that they posted about more modern research, or here's a method that they're talking about. So it's kind of always there.
Mhm.
And since I do a lot of driving, listening to podcasts is really easy. And I like Google Scholar as far as looking up research as well.
Okay.
So yeah, so a lot of times if things kind of come to light or my clients ask me questions, I'll just go and look up the research on it. And you can look up modern stuff as well as things from like the 1980s if you need to, but
Mhm.
to kind of see how it's changed and what the current protocols are saying is the best now.
Nice. Just curious if we listen to the same guys, barbell medicine or what was the one that was recommended to me recently? Hang on, I'll find it. Mind Pump.
I haven't heard of those, but I've seen them like recommended on certain pages I follow,
Okay.
but I haven't listened to them myself yet.
Okay. I was just curious. Barbell medicine comes
Hmm.
at it from an extremely logical, scientific approach. They balance which I'm sure you love, balance the
Hmm.
health and wellness aspects of fitness
Hmm.
with actually training heavy, which not a lot of, I don't know if you found this to be the case as well, but not a lot of healthcare professionals really encourage anybody to do any sort of resistance training. Have you had to defeat any of those stereotypes with clients coming in where their doctor said, if you lift, you're going to break your back, ruin your physique, like any of those things?
I've heard stuff like that. They're like, well, my primary care doctor said I couldn't deadlift. I'm like, well, why? And they're like, well, they said it's bad for my back. I'm like, they are an expert in their field of medicine. Just because they went throughout schooling doesn't mean that they are an expert on the science behind exercise and resistance training and programming and progressive overload and how to do things safely.
Yeah.
Like, so like they were just told that, and that's what they believe. They are an expert at what they do. Like, now we have experts in the field at what we do, and here's how to do things safely.
Yeah.
A lot of times I get a bunch of nonsense from the bad kinds of chiropractors out there, which there are a handful of good ones, but there's a lot of ones that are just trying to sell nonsense. So like, well, I had a slip disc. I'm like, if you had a slip disc, you'd be in the hospital. Like, you don't have a slip disc. I'm like, do you know how hard it is to slip a disc? Like, you don't have one of those. But if you want to go and get x-rays by an actual doctor, then go for it. But please don't listen to that.
Gosh, I can't imagine. Yeah, well, I had back issues recently, and
Mm-hmm.
it was really enlightening to me walking into urgent care, which is the first time I've done that, and probably I don't think I've actually gone to an urgent care before. And one of the first things coming out of the X-rays was a prescription for pain meds, and I was like, what was it? It wasn't Oxy. It was it was a muscle relaxer and Tylenol or something. I'm like, I've been dealing with this for a week. I'd rather not. And he's like, oh yeah, no, you don't have to. I'm like, if I didn't know any better, I would have just been like, oh yeah, no, I'll take all of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I actually had a back injury. It was due to like improper loading because I got overzealous a couple years back when I was doing powerlifting, and I was just lifting weight that was too heavy for my core and my back to support. And so yeah, I did the same thing. I went into urgent care because I couldn't move, I couldn't stand. It was sharp shooting pain. I had some numbness on my left leg. I guess a nerve was being pinched or something, but I didn't get an actual diagnosis of the same thing. They're like, we're going to give you like one pain pill, but we're not going to send you home with them. But here's a bunch of muscle relaxers and go see all these other people. And it's just, yeah, they just throw pills at you. I'm like, I just want to sleep for the night. And then it got better. I worked around it, started adding in some more motions that didn't bother it, and got stronger over time. And now I'm back to where I was and stronger than before. But yeah, just a lot of just throwing pain pills at people and not encouraging them to see somebody that can help them with their recovery and get their area stronger. And people are so scared to move after an injury, understandably so.
Have you noticed any going back to the client side, have you noticed any differences in mentality after you've been training somebody for a while, whether they're doing a weight loss or a strength gain kind of program?
That is my main goal with people. So yes, absolutely. Like, they work with me for long enough, and they don't care about the scale. They practice moderation, and they see amazing results. Like, they start shining with confidence that they didn't have before, and they feel comfortable in the weight section. Like, I'll get texts from them saying, I just did my first solo weightlifting workout at Lifetime in the weight section, and I felt confident, and I had never thought I'd be able to go into a male dominated weight room and do that. And they just have a higher overall quality of life. They feel good, they look good, they don't feel guilty for missing a workout, they don't feel guilty for having drinks with friends, because they know that they're practicing a healthy lifestyle, and that one day of indulging a little bit more is not going to throw away all their hard work.
Awesome. What's the long-term goal with the content that you're putting out, both Instagram, TikTok, wherever it is? What's the long-term goal with that? I know you're trying to build a brand, obviously, but
I would just love to get actual information out there. I want people to know that fitness shouldn't be complicated, and that it's not this all or nothing mentality of you have to do like you want to be a part of the 1%, you have to do what the 99% won't. Like, who cares about that? Like, we're not trying to be the 1%. We're just trying to feel good and look good.
Yep.
And so it's just a matter of getting that mentality out to people, like trying to combat all the false information out there of these like starvation type methods that carbs aren't bad for you, that you can have moderation and see amazing progress, and you will actually see better progress if you're less restrictive. The same thing when it comes to strength training, like just having people understand that it's hard work, but it's not complicated. follow a program, get stronger over time. Who cares what these other people are saying? This is what science says, research says. Make it simple, make it something that you enjoy and that's easy to adhere to.
Sure. Other than yourself, are there people that you kind of would encourage others to look up to, particularly females who are lifting and doing really well in the strength sports?
Yeah, so there's a couple of science-based women that I follow. You might have heard the names. There's Stephanie Buttermore. I really like her content, especially with her whole all-in journey, like being super lean, being very transparent with her weight gain and showing how unhealthy it is to maintain a body fat that low for a woman for long periods of time.
Yep.
Same thing. All of her strength training programs are catered towards women. There's home workouts, beginner, intermediate, advanced. So it's really easy for anybody to find one of her programs, do it, and see good results. There's also, I think her name is like Sohee Lee Fitz. Okay. I think she also has like a master's, maybe 2 of them and a bachelor's.
Wow.
But I think she's working on her second master's, but she has a very kind of a similar mentality where it's not this all or nothing thing. Like training should be this whole like wellness type thing of like with your physical health and your mental health. And again, like everything in moderation, enjoy the food and continue on with your day. Like lifting shouldn't be complicated. So here's some good basics to get stronger at. Here's some at home type of variations if people are still doing their workouts from home. So those are my current top 2 favorites as far as females go.
Nice. I'm a big fan of the home gym community, so I always like talking about fitness equipment and that kind of thing. But I'll talk about it from the female side. What for women who are just getting into strength sports, is there anything that you would recommend as far as setting up a home gym? Not going to commercial gyms just yet, but setting up a home gym. Any good basics that you would recommend for that?
I really like those long loop resistance bands, ones that don't have handles or just like a giant circle.
Yeah.
So I really like those. You can get those in all different kinds of sizes. And with that, you can kind of make a lot of exercises if you know what to do and have like kind of a person directing you, or you find a good account. They have adjustable dumbbells. So rather than buying like a stack of like 5s and 10s, you just have one chunk of dumbbells where you like twist a little knob and you have 5 up to like 55. Or however much they go up to.
Yep.
I also like the thicker kind of booty bands, like the ones that are built by Slingshot.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have really good resistance bands as far as like legs, where they're cotton based, they have actual resistance to them. Oh. And you can do a lot of movements with those too.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, the adjustable dumbbells are money. I mean, that's what we started out with.
Yeah.
Oh, they're freaking. Oh, especially right now. Holy cow.
Yeah. The basics of supply and demand. Yeah, they're really expensive. So I always have people look on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Craigslist. I'm like, well, it might not be pretty, but it's weight. It's 25 pounds and you can use it. Right. So if you can find a deal on it, find a deal on it. Like having that is better than having nothing, even if it's from like the 1980s.
Yeah, exactly. Well, some of that stuff is built a little bit better too, depending on, where you're looking. That's awesome. And from there, I mean, do you recommend people go into, I know the stereotype is, get a rack at a bar, that kind of thing. But I mean, do you honestly recommend that people, once they've progressed to a certain point, that they get into that kind of stuff?
Yeah, especially if they enjoy it. I feel like you can only get so strong with the initial weights that you have. And if you want to keep seeing physique progress, then you have to start getting kinds of heavier weights. But if you're just like a general health and fitness client, you wanted to lose a couple pounds, but you just want to move, you enjoy working out, you want some variety, and you're super content with those couple of things, I think that's totally fine. Everybody has different goals and everyone wants to be like lean and jacked and strong, and that's okay. So those couple of things will work just fine. But once their goals start changing, especially with my home gym clients, like, well, we need to get some heavier dumbbells. And like, maybe we should look into doing stuff like this if you want to keep progressing down this path. Or if you don't want to invest all that money into it, we can start working out at a gym in between these sessions. So we have you can still do your home workouts here, but we also are incorporating heavier weights.
Nice. Okay. Some options. On the equipment side, and just talking about cardio and conditioning, which again, there's that big stereotype about guys lift weights, women do cardio. But if you're recommending a cardio plan just to do some short-term weight loss, and so I know lifting weights is actually better from a fat loss and fat burning perspective, but do you have a preference over, rowing, air bike, treadmill, or is it just kind of whatever is somebody likes
I
to?
just let them choose, and like I try to have them stick in like the low intensity, more of like a steady state, so that way it doesn't interfere with their recovery from what they're doing in the gym. So yeah, I have them do like a low intensity kind of steady state, like if you want to row or jump rope or go on walks or run, stair stepper, cycling, like choose whatever. But I usually have them do it either on kind of like an active rest day or after their workout, or I have them split it like a 10-minute warm up and like a 10 or like 15 minutes after. So yeah, it's all in their preference as long as they're doing it and they want to kind of accelerate that weight loss. But I do make sure that they're aware, like it can't interfere with your recovery from weight training. And if you miss a cardio, like if you have to choose between doing cardio and weight training, choose the weight training.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get your opinion. We're talking about cardio now, and I'm just going to go back to your other comment that you had about HIIT. And I think we were talking about this a little bit, CrossFit. So what is your take on that phenomenon? It's become wildly popular, but my opinion on it, which doesn't matter, but is I'm a skinny guy by disposition. So I went into powerlifting eventually because I was getting skinnier on CrossFit. Does it differ for women in this regard? Like, would you ever recommend a CrossFit training regimen, or do you generally like to stick with more of the weightlifting side?
If people enjoy CrossFit, I'm not going to shy them away from it. I like that CrossFit has gotten people off the couch and lifting weights.
Yeah.
And I think that different gyms do things differently. Like there are some gyms where it's like, okay, if you want to do CrossFit, here's our intro course to learn every single one of the basics about all of the power movements and the Olympic weightlifting movements. And you cannot graduate to the more intense ones until you have mastered these. So a lot of gyms are doing that to prevent from injury, teach people the basics and get them strength training. There are other gyms where you just kind of like throw in this person hasn't weightlifted ever, and then they end up tearing a shoulder or something, or they end up hurting themselves. And so with that, I think that's where it gets problematic. But if people enjoy it, I won't tell them to not do it. Again, I'll just make sure that it is not interfering with their other goals that they told me that they want to achieve.
Okay. Do you have a hot take on CrossFit? Like, do you think overall I know you wouldn't veer people away from it necessarily, but do you think overall there are better options, or one way or the other?
I think that there are better, more structured options with the movements that are shown to kind of elicit results. So people's goals are hypertrophy. Then I'm like, all right, we need to put you on a hypertrophy focused program. If you enjoy CrossFit, do it on the side. But if it is interfering with your goals, we might have to reevaluate. So it's like, I don't totally hate it, but I think that there are better ways to go about it.
Yeah. Yeah. The big issue was, in my mind, was the combination of so much cardio, even in the strength lifting. Like you're doing, when you're doing deadlifts or which, that's how I learned how to deadlift was CrossFit. But when you're doing deadlifts for reps, like seems to be potentially problematic. I mean, my cardio was the best I ever had, for sure. But
I think that sometimes like the movements go too fast. I don't know what the heck a chest to bar is. It kind of just looks like a fish out of water. But there are benefits to it. If people weren't doing anything before and now they're doing CrossFit, great. They're out there, they're moving, they're doing a lot more than they were before. But there are definitely better ways to approach things, and things shouldn't be done for speed, because I do think that that's when injuries happen, is when stuff like that is like, again, you're doing like fast deadlifts, fast power cleans, fast whatever the heck they do in CrossFit. I've never done it before, but
Gotcha. Are there any programs or whether not CrossFit, but any or even fitness fads that you've seen that you think are harmful or dangerous from a training perspective? So I'm trying to think of some right now that have come out lately, but you're probably more in tune with that kind of stuff than I am.
I do. So I don't like the whole 2-a-day mentality, because I don't think that you need to work out twice a day in order to see results. And most people don't have that time. Like, who has the time to go to the gym for 2 to 3 hours a day? Like, not me, not people with children, not people that work full time. So I think that's kind of harmful when people get that mentality of, oh, I'm not going to see results, so I'm not working hard enough, or I'm not going there that long. As far as things that are dangerous, I guess when it comes to stuff like that, it's like the whole starvation diet thing that people have been promoting on TikTok. I think that that is inherently dangerous, just telling people that they only need to eat 1,000 calories a day and that the fat on their body is the cheeseburger that they ate last year. They can metabolize that for energy. I'm like, I don't know where you got that, but okay. But as far as like exercises, I haven't really seen anything that's inherently too dangerous recently.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that they're not out there.
Yeah. Well, I know there's some, speaking of nutrition, I know there's some cleanses out there that are like, so I don't know if you've ever heard this before.
Cleanses.
Yeah. So I had a buddy of mine that was trying to get into his tux for his wedding, right? And he was 3 days out and he wasn't fitting. Mm-hmm. And the dude went on some sort of turmeric and like, what was it? I don't want to misspeak, but he was like turmeric and baking some crazy cocktail. Yeah, that caused him to throw up constantly for like 2 straight days. And it was a cleanse, you know.
If you want to cleanse your system, just do a colonoscopy prep. Like that will take care of you.
Yeah, that will.
I'm like, I don't know how those are still a thing. Like I've had clients that have like said, oh, I might do a cleanse with my wife. I'm like, well, if you're going to do a cleanse for 5 days, here's what can happen to you. And I'm not going to train you during that time because you're not going to have any energy in your body. Like I'm not going to put you through that. So here's what they do. Like, here's why you'll gain all that weight back. Here's why they're inherently unhealthy. And why do you think there's so many cleanses? Because none of them work. Like, oh, we have like a 1-day cleanse, a 7-day cleanse, a 30-day cleanse. Like none of them work. That's why there's so many of them. Like, are there benefits to drinking juice and getting more micronutrients? Absolutely. But you can't live off of that. Like, it's not sustainable.
No, not at all. Yeah, you need to eat solid food. What's your opinion on that too? So drinking your calories versus ingesting solid food.
It depends on kind of like what kind of calories you're doing. Like if I'm busy, like have you seen those naked protein shakes? If I need like some like calorie dense stuff, like there's 30 grams of protein, they're like 400 to 500 calories.
Okay.
So if I need food fast and I won't be home for 4 hours and I have nothing on me, I think it's great. Okay. But it kind of depends on like where they're coming from. Like you can't just live off of protein shakes and milk and water. But it's like you just have to be aware that the thing you're drinking has X amount of calories. You might not feel full as if you ate 500 calories of solid food. But if you're in a time crunch, you need food and you're just keeping track that you ate or drank a very calorie dense shake, then I think it's okay.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I figured. I don't personally feel full after having, ingested something liquid generally. I mean, I guess protein shakes are somewhat of an exception, but I keep hearing this over and over, like eat solid food, eat solid food, eat solid food, don't drink your calories. And so I feel like it maybe, I don't know, maybe it just depends on the person too.
Yeah, it depends on the person and the schedule. Like some people really like to make a giant shake and that's their breakfast. I'm like, awesome, go for it, but track everything you're putting in there. Yeah. It's funny. I actually had a client who like, he wasn't losing weight, but he told me about this shake that he was drinking in the morning. And he told me all the stuff that he was putting in it. And it sounded really healthy. I'm like, okay, well, why don't you just track everything in MyFitnessPal? Like I just like, you need to be aware of how many calories that thing is. It was 1,200 calories. I'm like, what in the hell are you putting in there? He's like, well, you said Greek yogurt. He got me a Greek goddess Greek yogurt, not the non-fat Greek yogurt. I'm like, well, that's why it tastes so good. He had avocados and nuts and hemp seeds. So it was all really healthy food, but they were all super calorie dense. Like, well, no wonder you hit a plateau. Like you're drinking half your calories before 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, so like keep drinking your shake, but let's make some adjustments and measure out what you're putting in there. And so now what he does, he's adjusted it. So it's like 500. Oh, nice. And he drinks half in the morning. He goes for his morning runs and then he drinks half as a snack midday. So stuff like that. I'm like, yes, be aware of what you're drinking because even though it might taste great, everything he had in there was healthy. It was 1,200 calories.
Jeez. Yeah. I don't think people understand what and a lot of these, I want to get your take too on health foods because I just saw something, I think it was on Instagram. It's really well put. So they had a burger, fries, like a Diet Coke next to like a few health bars and an avocado or something. And they were the fast food was less calories total than that healthy stuff. And it was really interesting to me. And I thought it was really on point because you can eat fast food as long as you're tracking and still
Mhm.
lose weight. And some of this
Yeah.
healthy stuff is like super calorie dense.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think for that, it's like you just have to know like what you're buying. So like if you only have a McDonald's, like get a grilled chicken sandwich or something. It's not like it's unhealthy. It's quick, it's easy. You're aware of the macros. It's a healthier choice. And I feel like when people think of eating healthy, they think of like green juices and expensive protein shakes and fancy protein bars, and that's not it at all because that's really expensive.
Yeah.
A good protein bar is like $2 or $3. I'm like, okay, well, if I have $2 or $3, I can go to and buy more food from like McDonald's or Burger King from that and feel full.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of about having the knowledge of how to buy healthy food in a affordable, sustainable way. And
Mhm.
it's not this like Hollywood type glamorous cleansing, whatever overpriced drink, health bar, juice thing.
I love those kind of diets. They're great.
Right.
I and the whole, and I feel like the nutrition fads change every single freaking year, and somebody else hops on
Mhm.
like something else and they come out with a new superfood and all that stuff. And it's like, well, if you
Mhm.
would consistently eat in a way, even, I don't know, I feel like if everybody were to track their calories and actually understand how much food they were consuming,
Mhm.
everybody would be fine. That would be it.
Yeah. From what I've seen is people don't want to change their lifestyle. They want to add something in that's going to
Mm.
fix them. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, it's like, well, if I drink this, then I'll lose weight, or if I take this pill, then I'll lose weight, rather than having to look at their lifestyle, realize that it's incredibly unhealthy, and have to kind of start from square one and build it up. It's like it's easier when someone's preaching that this is the end all be all magic pill that's going to make you have the body you want finally. It's like, oh, great, I'll just buy that. And it doesn't work. And then they're on to the next thing rather than, again, taking that time and the energy to go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week to change everything that they're eating on and make sure that it's healthy. It's a lot harder.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle change. Well, it's a mentality change first. I keep telling people that
Hmm.
you can buy all the fancy equipment in the world, but the what's in here is where you need to
Hmm.
start. You know, you've got I've got a home gym and all that stuff, but
Hmm.
if you don't want to train, it's just gonna sit there.
Yeah.
Same thing with food. Um, any going back to the client side, any success stories that you've had as you've been training that have been really inspirational or that you pointed out and said, hey, that's really awesome?
Yeah, there's one of my clients, Shane. I've had him for almost 4 years now.
Wow.
But when we first started off, he's a father of two. He had gained like 30 or 40 pounds. He wasn't necessarily overweight, but he was on high blood pressure and high cholesterol medication. And so it started off as just like an initial 12 pack. And now it's been like 4 years. But so with him, he's lost about, I want to say 30 or 40 pounds. We don't use the scale anymore, so we don't really know. But
Nice.
he's actually transitioned into being fully vegan. And that was like when he brought that up to me, I'm like, all right, so we're going to cut out red meat and we're just going to eat fish, and we're going to cut out fish and eat dairy and slowly transition. So that way his like wife and his kids could get on board with it too. Cause you can't just give kids this like weird grain soy thing and expect them to actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so now he's off all of his medication. He runs marathons at his fastest time. He's going to be 47 this year.
Wow.
And his whole entire family has adopted this healthier lifestyle. Like his kids are aware of eating healthy. His wife started to eat healthy. Now she cycles 3 times a week, and she had never worked out a day in her life before he started doing this. So it wasn't just his life that completely changed. He got off medication, the healthiest he's ever been. It's his whole entire family that now have this healthier lifestyle and are doing better and feeling better.
That's incredible. What do you find
Mm-hmm.
are the biggest motivators for somebody like the real motivators, not just I want to lose 10 pounds? Like what are the
Mm-hmm.
ulterior motives behind most people coming in and seeing you as a trainer?
Yeah, I call it finding your why. Like everybody's is a little bit different, but that initial 10, 20 pounds will get you in the door, but it's not going to keep you there.
Mm.
And so I tell my clients, like, you don't have to tell me, but you got to dig a little bit deeper and find your why. So whether it's like my parents are unhealthy and now I'm unhealthy and I want to be a good example for my children. Like I want to show them that they can live a healthier lifestyle, or people that were bullied for being fat and now they're tired of feeling that way and they want to overcome all the insecurities that they had. People that like got out of bad relationships, women, and they want to feel strong and empowered and do something for themselves. So it's people kind of come from all over the spectrum, but the ones with families, it's usually for their kids. because they don't want their kids to look at them and see this unhealthy, overweight parent that can't play catch with them or go outside and play with them, or daddy has a belly on the beach. And like it's stuff like that that brings people in. They're like, this sucks. I'm fat and my kids are noticing. Like my kids notice that I can't do things anymore.
Yeah.
For people who are older, like 50, 60, 70, things start wearing down a little bit. They don't want to be in pain anymore. Like all of their friends are getting injured and they can't play golf. They can't ride a bike. They can't tie their shoe. And so it's just their activities of daily living that they want to improve so they can live a higher quality life.
Gotcha. Yeah. Fitness is about so much more than the surface level things I think a lot of people talk about. I mean, you mentioned the mental health aspect, and I think that needs to be part of the discussion up front more than it is like, oh, you've been training for a while and now you feel better. Like, well, there's a reason why you feel better after working out. Yeah. But there's also like, I don't know, motivators behind that get you going or not going to the gym. So
yeah, I know. Like I know that there's some kind of bigger box gyms that will try to dig into that right away, which I feel like is very intrusive. So as I build a relationship with my clients, and if they lose motivation, I'm like, all right, so like you got to do a little bit of soul searching, find out why. You don't have to tell me. You can write it down and keep it within yourself. That's fine. But like you've got to figure that out, or you're not going to keep coming in and you're not going to see your results. So yeah, you want to lose 20 pounds. Like, what does that mean to you? Why is that 20 pounds lighter a magical number? And what can we do to kind of get around that?
Sure. When you were getting certified, did you go through any sort of psychology of training or psychology of just human psychology to understand more kind of motivations behind what you were doing and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So in the general like personal training cert books, they do touch on like behavior coaching and like the SMART goals, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. But throughout my schooling, what my program did a really good job of putting us through a lot of psychology training where we took developmental psychology. I also took some on my own as well, where we did psychosocial aspects of exercise science. We did a lot of corporate wellness, and that dove into the psychology behind stuff too. And my professors did a really good job too of always pulling that in. And we had a lot of discussions of kind of like how to work around people's mentality, but also a lot of research that I did on my own. So I find the topic very interesting. And what separates like an okay trainer and a good trainer is one that understands the psychology behind it and can really work with them and find the program that works for them, help define their motivation, and help them adhere to a program.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, big box gyms might address that, way too early on, but I was when I was talking with somebody else about this. I mean, eventually it comes out. I like you said, it's either family or a relationship or something that's driving them behind that. So I feel like that's. I mean, you can. I'm sure you can research all the training and nutrition information and studies as much as you want, but if it's not there from even just a heart perspective, it's not going to work. So
yeah. Like there's a lot of people that are really smart when it comes to like programming and training, but they don't know how to work with people.
No.
And it's like, so they should work on finding another niche or just get better at that, because people deserve to have someone that understands them, that will meet them where they're at. And if they miss all their workouts during a week, aside from the one that they had scheduled, it's like, okay, well, why? Like, well, I had to pick up my kid and then my husband was out of town and then this came up with work and I had to work a 12-hour day. Like, so should we give you like half an hour home workouts that you can do with the minimal equipment you have in between? And just kind of, instead of just saying, oh, well, you should have just showed up. Like, it's your fault for not showing up. You obviously don't care. It's like, that's not the case. Life happens. Most of our clients are not these single people with all this free time in the world. Like, they have other obligations.
Right. Oh shoot, I just was going to ask about. Oh yes, as a trainer, what do you look for in other trainers as far as effective? What are the aspects or qualities of an effective trainer that somebody else should be looking for when they're coming to somebody like you?
They should always meet them where they're at and sit down and actually talk to them, like on their first session, like get to know them. Like, what is their previous workout history? What did they enjoy? What did they not enjoy? Like, why are they coming in here? And how can, like, and I also ask my clients what they want from me. Like how are you motivated? Like, what's your learning style? And it should never feel like a generic workout. Like they should be checking of like, how does this movement feel? Like how's this going? And if I tell my clients, like if we're doing a movement and you hate it, like it just feels weird and you don't like it, please tell me. There's other movements we can do. I'm not going to force you to do exercises you hate unless they're Bulgarian split squats because I hate them too. So
Yes.
but it's
Nice.
making sure that it's not some swipe workout that you can find on Instagram. Like
Okay.
it should be a workout that's catered towards you. It shouldn't be the same every time. Like you should be learning. It should be educating you as well. Like after your session, you should feel empowered to go and work out on your own, not confused by whatever the hell they threw at you, which I think is huge. Is trainers should educate their clients. It's not our job to be dictators. It's a partnership, a teamwork.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't leave feeling confused. You should also not leave with a meal plan. You should leave feeling educated about food and how to make better choices. Like, oh, like you like this kind of yogurt, it's high in fat and sugar. Why don't we go to 2% Greek yogurt? And just little tiny things that can help you make better choices on your own.
Yeah. So do you feel from a nutrition perspective that it's less about completely wholesale changing their diet and more just making some adjustments to what they're already eating so it's more comfortable for them?
Yeah. And sometimes like I will do that and they will have no idea and then they'll start losing weight. So
Wow.
usually I have people track for a couple of days and then they bring that in. I'm like, we're not going to track for forever, but I want you to be aware of what you're putting in your body. And I want you to learn about the macronutrient contents of food. I want you to be aware of how you're feeling when you're eating a certain way. And I use it more of a educational tool,
Mhm.
and people are more willing to do it when they know it's not a forever thing. And so then like I'll look at it and I'll see, oh, okay. So it looks like you, again, like the whole thing with yogurt. Like I love that Greek goddess yogurt. It tastes like a dessert. It kind of is one. So why don't we just substitute that out with this? It looks like you need a little bit more protein in your diet. So with your snack, I'm going to add a protein shake to it. And looks like you're using a lot of dressing on your salad. So why don't we like make your salad dressing from home? You can measure out the olive oil, some balsamic and some lemon, and then that'll take off a bunch of calories too. And so it's like making little tiny tweaks where they don't feel like they're changing a whole lot, but the macros are completely different.
That's huge. I don't think I've ever heard
Mm-hmm.
that perspective before, to be perfectly honest. Usually it's what you said. Go home with a meal
Mm-hmm.
plan, completely change what you're eating and see
Mm-hmm.
you,
Yeah.
So
No,
that's amazing.
I like to work with people with where they're at, because then it's easy changes. They don't feel like their whole entire life is being uprooted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they start losing weight.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Cause that's a big, I've noticed whenever I've gone to personal trainers and asked them about the programs, the nutrition part is pretty lacking and there's not a whole lot of, they have their recommendations, but it's copy paste
Mm-hmm.
from every other training client. It's not, hey, let's talk about what you're already eating and make
Mm-hmm.
some tweaks like you said. That's huge.
Yeah.
So where can people find you if they either want to train with you or just hear more of your content?
Yeah. So on TikTok it's just Cassandra Dill.
Mhm.
On Instagram it's Cassie Ray with 2 E's. And I am just putting the finishing touches on a website. I'm not good with technology, so it's taken me a little bit.
Yeah.
But with that, there will be training applications on there. I'm working on getting some programs out for beginner, intermediate, advanced, like a 3-day-a-week workout split, 4-day-a-week workout split, etc. But I'm on TikTok a lot more now, so it's easier to get content out there. And
Yeah.
whereas Instagram, I feel like people don't listen when you talk; they just kind of like scroll through and see if there's captions on it.
Yep. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. What's the name of the website going to be? Do you have that yet?
It should just be Cassandra Dill Training.
Okay.
But I will have the links on all of my bios once I kind of put the final touches on that and make sure it's running the way it should.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So check her out, guys. She's putting out some really good content. That's obviously what caught my eye for the podcast. And I just wanted to say thank you for coming on and sharing all that. Keep it up. You're doing a great job. I think you're doing great.
Thank
Obviously,
you.
other people think you're doing really well. I love the approach that you're having, particularly with regards to nutrition, just mentality. So yeah, we'll keep in touch and check her out, Instagram, TikTok, and also the website is she's developing that. Question real quick before we end. Do you do remote training for people who are not in the same state, or is it all usually in person?
I do a little bit of both. So I do programming for people that are that are out of state and independent. They just want someone to tell them what to do, and you give them a paper and they're good to go.
Okay.
I still do virtual training as well with people that are more concerned about COVID. They're at risk. They have family members who are at risk.
Yep.
But most of in person, but I am transitioning into doing more of like the programming and the virtual stuff.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, Cassie, thanks for your time. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All righty. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening. Please give FreedomCast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean a lot to our business. Plus, it's fun to read y'all's reviews. See you next time.